Cumulative test B, and we'll jump right in. What is the total price of a $10,000 car plus 6.5% sales tax? Okay, so right away we know that your answer should be at least $10,000 because it's $10,000 car plus 6.5% sales tax. So if we take 10,000 times 100%, we're going to get 10,000. So we want 10,000. Going to take me a little while to write this. 0, 0. Wow, that's ugly. And instead of timesing it by 100%, we know that 100%, there we go, really equals 1. If I have 100% of a pie, I have one whole pie, right? So I have 10,000 times 1. And then I have 6.5%, 6.5. Percent we know means per 100. If we were to write this out, 60% would be in this decimal spot, the tens place. 6%, 5 hundredths, or 6.5. So I'm going to set up the problem like that. When you multiply this all out, you find that you're just moving decimals over. Your number should be just over 10,000. And actually, after you get done multiplying this out, you're going to find your answer is $10,065. Nope, just kidding. You're going to get $10,650. Sorry about that. So essentially what we're doing here is we're moving the decimal place here. If you're multiplying it by 10, we're going to move the decimal place one spot. Multiply by 100, move it 2, 1,000, 3, 10,000, 4. Make the decimal spot there. So yeah, I already had my 0 here. So 10,650 should be your answer. Okay. Moving on, number 2. Julie worked for 6 hours and earned $39. How much did she earn per hour? Okay. She earned 39 bucks. We'll try typing this time. It might be quicker. So $39. And she worked 6 hours. We want to find out her. Oh, that didn't work. Try again. 39.00. Click. We want to know her per hour, or her rate. So we take 39 divided by 6. That's how we set up the problem. After you divide it out, 6 goes into 36 6 times. I have a remainder of 3 after I subtract that out. 36. I might just have to talk through this because if I write it all out, it's going to take forever to get there. So I have 3 left over. I drop my 0 down and I get a answer of 30. 6 goes into 30 5 times. And it'll go in evenly. I move the decimal just up right above, and we have 6.5, but it's asking how many dollars. So we have to have our answer in dollars. We have $6.50. Moving right along, number 3. The ratio of girls to boys in the assembly was 5 to 3. So we'll try to save some pain and put 5 to 3 instead of writing it out. And that is girls, gosh, come on, 5 to 3. All right, and that is, it says girls first, and it says 5 first. So we have 5 girls, we have 3 boys. If 60 boys, so we're just going to keep this right in line. Girls first, 5 first, boys second, 3 second, and then it says 60 boys. So we're going to put the 60 right next to that. How many were in the assembly total? So we need to figure out our ratio. What do we do to this 3 to make it 60? Well, you probably recognize right away 3 times 2 equals 6. So 3 times 2 with a 0 behind it is going to be 60. So 3 times, and I don't have room, but 3 times 20 equals 60. Now, if I change this fraction by multiplying it by 20, the top is going to get jealous. Can't multiply the bottom by 20 without doing it at the top. So 5 times 20 is going to give you 100. So we solved the ratio. We need to look at the question. How many girls were there? So girls, there's 60 boys, there are 100 girls. So I'm going to write 100, and you need to label it girls. On to number 5. 6% of 850. Now, just to estimate, to give yourself an idea of what this should be, roughly, make sure we're doing it right. If I have 10% of 850, I have 85, right? So my answer should be about half of 85. My answer should be somewhere in the 40, 45 range, okay? So the way that I do this, it's percent. Percent means per 100, right? So if I have my tenths place and my hundredths place, I have 0.06 equals 6%, right, as a decimal. So I take that, I multiply it by 850. After you multiply that out, you're going to get your answer. When you're ready to check your answer, the answer should be 51. Circle it. Now, from my estimation, I know that I said it should be somewhere in the range of 40 to 45. 51's pretty close for my estimation. So, yes, we set that up right. Moving along, number 6, back up at the top. David gave 1/5 of his 235 baseball cards to his sister. That was nice. What a nice guy. Percent of his baseball cards did David give to his sister? Okay, so it tells us he gave 1/5. That's easy. We just have to find out what 1/5 is as a percent. There are a couple ways to do this. One is we could set it up and say percent means per 100. I think you've heard me say that before. So instead of per 5, we're going to figure out what it is per 100, right? So we could set it up like this and say 5 times what equals 100? Well, 5 times 2 is 10, and it's just an extra 0, so it must be 5 times 20 equals 100. If I do it to the bottom, I have to do it to the top as well. It says that's not fair. 1 times 20 equals 20. We know David gave away 20%. That's one way to set it up. There's a percent. It's lovely. Okay, there's more than one way to skin a cat, and there's more than one way to do math. If you don't like that way, we can figure out what 1/5 is as a percent by dividing it out and saying BOTI, bottom outside, top inside, and set it up like this. 5 does not go into 1, 5 does go into 10, and I get 0.2. Now this is a decimal, so I want to convert 0.2. Okay, it goes in evenly. 5 times 2 is 10, subtract that, you get 0. So 0.2 is my answer. 0.2 as a decimal equals what as a percent? And it'd be 0.20. We move it over 2 places for percent per 100, and per 100 we have 20%. That's the other way to solve. All right, moving on to letter B. How many baseball cards did David have left? So then we need to figure out what percent it is. The easiest way to do this is to figure out 235 and divide it by 5. I believe 5 goes into 23 4 times, which is 20. Subtract it out. I have 35 left over. 5 goes into 35 7 times. So 47, that is not your answer. That is 1/5. 1/5 is 47. So they may have you do 47. Come on. 47. This is really painful writing it if you think it's painful watching. Wow. 47, 47, 47. Why am I writing it 5 times? Because it's 1/5. So they're going to break it down like this. And 1/5 was his sister's. He gave his sister 47 cards, which means he had this many left for himself. Doesn't look so generous now, does it? So then you just need to add these up. 7 plus 7 is 14, plus 7 is 21, plus 7 is 28. I counted this 4 last time I added. 4 plus 4 is 8, plus 4 plus 4 is 16, plus 2. 16 plus 2 is 18. How many cards he had left? 188. We're going to label that cards. Wow, that took a long time. All right, moving on. Number 7, write 6 10,000ths in scientific notation. So we have to have one number in front of the decimal. It's going to be 6.0 times 10. So if we're not sure which way to move the decimal, if we're positive or negative for my exponent, 6 times 10 is 60, right? I would write in, we can even write in 60. 6 times 10 is 60. Now, is this number smaller or bigger than 60? It's way less than 60, right? So obviously we need to move the decimal the other way. So we're going to say 6 times 10 to the negative, and then how many places are we going to have to move this thing? If 6 were here, we would move it. We'd move it 1. From here to here is 1, 2, 3, 4 places. So it goes from here 1, 2, 3, 4 places. And it is getting smaller. So we should have 6 times 10 to the negative 4th. For B, right, 7.5 times 10 to the negative 3rd in standard form. So that just means as a normal number. So I know I have 7.5, and times the negative means I'm going to be making this smaller. If I just have 7.5 times 10, it's getting bigger, right? So my number should be smaller since it's to the negative. So moving the decimal 1, 2, 3 places, sticking her in there, and we're going to fill these in with zeros. So your answer for B should be 0.00 ugliness 7, 5. Number 8. In parallelogram ABCD, measure A is 120 degrees. All right. A is 120. Okay. A and C are congruent, which means they're the same, which is 120. Before I go any farther, I need to know if I had a perfect square, which this is not, each one of these angles would be 90 degrees, right? 90 times 4 is 360. In a square and in a parallelogram, altogether, these angles add up to be 360 degrees. Okay? So I know that 2 of them are 120. This one's 120, this one's 120. Which means together there's 240, so I have 360 minus 240, and my answer would be 120. Now D and B together then equal 120. They too are congruent, which means the same. So I have 120 divided by 2. My answer is that D and B are 60 degrees. Last one on this page, and then we're ready for the other side. Compare 1.5 kilograms to 150 grams. Okay, so kilo means 1,000. There are 1,000 kilograms in a gram. So take 1.5, if I'm going to convert this, 1.5 times 1,000 equals 1,500. Which one is bigger, 1,500 or 150? Alligator mouth's opening to eat the bigger one. I'll decide to.